Guys, what is up? Welcome back to another video. We're in a garage that you're not familiar with, but that's because we're installing some parts on a buddy's machine. Now, we got in front of us, as you saw from the intro and the thumbnail, a new 2022 Pro R, looking mighty fine, and we'll go over the car in a little bit towards the end of this video. But today's video is how to install new radius rods and a tow rod. Yes, a tow rod, that's what we're calling it now. You got your tie rods, you got your radius rods, you got your links, and now we got these things called tow rods. A little funny, but we're gonna go over them here on the bench real quick, then we're gonna show you guys how to install them. I already got one side on, and we're gonna show you step by step how to do this. All right, so here we have a set of radius rods from Polaris. As you can see, they are pretty beefy and chunky monkeys. This is not bent, this is pre-bent from the factory, this is normal, but they are pretty chunky. The only problem is the tube thickness, the diameter of the wall, excuse me, the thickness of the wall is a little bit left to be desired, especially on the top rod. It's kind of thin and you can hear it. Well, it's hard to hear on wood, but. And we have replacements here from LMUTV, and they are beefy little boys.
I'm collecting stupid little boys.
Now these, because this machine is a lot beefier than past machines, you're now getting 3/4 inch heim joints. The thickness of the aluminum is very thick, as you can tell here. The top rod, very similar to what we've seen in the past. Again, a thick boy, solid.
Thick.
It's not hollow like the stock rods, and it's made of 6061 aluminum. I mean, not much more to say on these besides the fact that they are going to be a lot stronger. I've been running radius rods from LMUTV for quite some time, and they have some of the best stuff. The heim joints last a lot longer than some of the other companies for whatever reason, and the craftsmanship in the aluminum has always been on par with anybody else. And right over here we have the tow rod. I still can't get over the name, it's a little funky. We got this tow rod here. This is the factory tow rod, and this is the new one from LMUTV. We'll throw those both on the bench, and I want to show you guys something on these. So when it comes to construction of these things, they are very similar in the fact that they do the same job, but they are made very differently. This is made of 6061 aluminum. It is solid, it is not hollow like this guy. And the clevis at the rear, the way they adjust is very different as well. So 3/4 heims in the front, just like the radius rods. The factory one has this radial joint, which is great. I mean, there's no issues really with the radial joints. It's mainly the thickness and the strength of the tube going across. Towards the back, they do very different things. You can see that the tow rod at the clevis, it's elongated, and what it uses an eccentric bolt with spacers. The bolt is off center to the spacers. When you turn the bolt, it moves the spacers, which turns the tow rod, or pretty much pushes inward and outward the tow rod, and changes pretty much the length between that hub and the chassis point. Now that's not a bad design. Some people that ride really hard have been having issues where it does come loose. Others have not. It all depends on how hard you ride. These are anodized black. They're machine or laser etched, excuse me, with the LMUTV logo. Now at the rear it uses this clevis and no longer has that elongated hole. You pretty much stick a bolt and that's it, and the adjustment is done just like the radius rods, where you loosen these two jam nuts and make it longer or shorter until you have the perfect length.
Length times diameter plus weight over girth divided by angle of the tip squared, okay?
Now on these Pro Rs, you want to have 0 degrees toe in or out at ride height, because at full droop, I believe it toes out, and at full extension, it toes in, I believe. So at ride height, you want to have it exactly in the middle ground. So we're going to go ahead and install these on the car. I already did one side, and we'll show you guys how to do it on the opposite side. Alright guys, the hardware is very simple. You're going to use a 21mm to remove the bolt and nut holding the radius rod for the upper and the lower. I'm also going to remove the hardware for the hub. You only do that if you're going to be removing the that tow rod, because you have to move the hub a little bit. So I'll go ahead and start removing some of this hardware. It's very simple. You're going to do the same exact thing for the center point where they match up at the chassis. The nut on the backside is a little tricky to get to. I like taking off this cover, it makes it a lot simpler, but pretty much it's going to be the same exact thing as the wheel area. The lower radius rod, it's a lot easier to use your wrench on the backside. At the bottom there's a little access hole, and at the top, when you're going on the top nut here, you're gonna want to go across like this to hold on to the nut. But overall it's a little tricky, but it's easy. It's not that hard.
That's easy for you to say.
So the owner wanted them in anodized black, which is gonna look good on this machine because it's all blacked out. He wears black clothes, black shirts, black pants. Starting to think he's gothic, man. Where you at, Andy?
What the hell are you doing? Breathing deep the darkness that envelops my soul. God damn it.
And that's pretty much it. Now you can put on the new radius rods. Now before you do, you're gonna wanna adjust the upper rod. The lower rod, there's no adjustment, it's fixed. I verified the length, it's perfect. But the upper one, you do have to adjust it to make it the same length as the stock OEM rod. So we can do that now. I actually already did it, but I wanna show you guys how it's done. You're gonna use your OEM rod, you're gonna use the OEM bolts, and you're pretty much gonna line them up with the new radius rod. You make sure that the length is the same, and to do that, these jam nuts, they're already tight now, but you have them loose when they come out of the box. And you adjust it, you turn it. They're left hand and right hand hind joints, so that way you can just turn it and both of them will turn at the same time, and it'll get shorter or longer as you turn it. And you're gonna wanna match up with the bolts. So initially out of the box, they're short. You wanna give them a couple turns. And when you use the bolt, you want to make sure that this bolt is 90 degrees to the radius rods. That way you know it's the same exact length. So same over here on this side, and that's pretty much it. You tighten down both jam nuts on both sides. You look at all the toys in the garage and say, wow, I wish I had 3 machines.
I'm not jealous.
So first up, we got this lower radius rod. And it's very simple because on the back side, the non-machine side, it's gonna tell you passenger side and chassis, which makes it really simple to know where these go. And we'll go ahead and install them. Now on the upper one, the left and the right side are exactly the same. All you gotta worry about is putting this pocket, this extra pocket that it doesn't have on both sides. You'll put that towards the wheel side. Now, normally we torque these with a torque wrench, but I don't have one on hand. You know, we're off site today. We're doing freaking house calls now, right, Andy?
Yep.
Now, normally you torque these down, and then you can also put a little paint marker of cross-check, or I like to use Revlock, and that pretty much shows you and indicates if the bolt comes loose, the paint will break, and then you'll know if it comes loose. So if you start hearing some sounds, you could always just take a quick look at the paint marks. You don't have any of that stuff, do you?
Red Loctite?
No, cross-check.
Fingernail polish. Gay! From Choco, his favorite color.
All right, so the time of making this video, LME TV is actually still making these pull plates. They're working on them right now. So if you guys are interested in also getting the pull plate, it'll be on the website very soon. But for right now, all you got is the radius rods and that tow rod. What a weird name, huh? All right, guys, removing the tow rod is gonna be a lot more, a little bit more involved. You're gonna want to take off the axle nut. You're gonna pull off the caliper and the disc. And then the hub, you're gonna have to float it over just a little bit just to pull that guy out. It's not too difficult, it just requires a little bit more steps than, you know, radius rod, so. And while we're here, we'll show you what the OEM adjustment is for the tie rod, or excuse me, the tow rod toe adjustment. And that's this bolt. As you can see, the bolt is not perfectly centered in that washer, it's off to the side. And what happens is, you can go ahead and adjust the bolt. The bolt will move and in turn move the tow rod, and that's your adjustment because the washers ride on these grooves here and push it in and out. So it's a pretty cool design, but some guys have had issues coming loose if you're riding really hard. All right, once you got the hardware out to remove the hub, you can pretty much unbolt it here at the tow rod where it bolts up to the hub, and you're also gonna unbolt it out at the front here. So in the front, you're gonna want to remove this Torx. That's right here, and this 10mm that moves the plastic, and then you get a ratchet and socket, and you can take that off. All right, the reason we're loosening up the hub is because there's a plate underneath the rod here, and it won't just slip down. You're gonna have to pull it rearward a little bit, and you can't really do it enough without, you know, moving the hub out of the way. So with the hub loose, you want to push the axle in a little bit. Now you could kind of wrestle it out. You don't have to completely remove it.
Gotcha, bitch!
All right, boys, short break, but we're back. We're gonna throw this guy on. As you guys saw us remove it, it's pretty simple. The new one is gonna go through the trailing arm here, And I think what we're gonna do is put it up at the top first. Scoot it into the hub as far as we can. Like that. And then push it forward. I'm gonna put the bolt on at the front. Very simple. Bolt, nut, torque it down, and then we'll move on to this section here. We got the tow rod on. I put the hub back in its location. It's not that hard, it's pretty simple. The only thing you gotta worry about is actually making the adjustment, but you gotta do that with the wheels on. There she is, everything's tight, all 4 bolts at the radius rod plate, both bolts holding the radius rod, both bolts holding the hubs, the brake calipers, the axle nuts, the bolts holding the tow rod in the front and in the back, both sides, and yeah, we can lower this guy and start setting the tow. So the camber adjustment, there shouldn't be any camber adjustment. We made the tie rods, excuse me, the upper radius rod, the same length as the factory, but I can tell right now that the toe is already jacked up, it's kind of pointing outwards, but we're gonna put it on the ground and find out. All right, we got the string all around the wheels. We showed this method in the past. It's very simple if you have a squared vehicle. So say if your alignment is perfect in the front, which it should be, this car's fairly new, that should translate to the rear. So if we look at the front real quick, we'll take a look and make sure the wheels are straight and make sure the steering wheel is straight. I think it needs to go to the left just a hair. But you can see when the string's making contact, right now it's not making contact. You want it to make contact, boom. And that should be squared. The same should be for the other side, and that's assuming we have 0 toe. Like I said, this is gonna put you in the ballpark, but you can see if the string is being adjusted by the wheel in any way. Now right here it is a little bit, we'll make it a smidge to the right, which makes sense because the steering wheel's not straight. We'll straighten out the steering wheel just a hair, and that's pretty good. And right now I can physically see that currently we're towed in a crap ton. So a recent video that Shock Therapy made, we saw that the rear toe was right at 0 at ride height, so we're gonna kind of try to aim for that. If anything, you'll be towed in just a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch, and that'll be perfect. But this side needs to come out just a little bit, and this side needs to come out a ton. The camber is perfect on this side, and on this side we might have to adjust it just a hair just to get it perfect, and that'll be it. So we'll go ahead and adjust it, and then we'll show you guys again on video that this is now gonna be a lot better. See, I'm adjusting the rod, and I'm gonna do it until it's about a touch, but we're gonna leave it off just a hair. And we're just barely not touching. Shit, I moved it. We're probably like a 1/16 of an inch away from touching. Same thing on the other side. We'll just take a quick step back, use the eyeball test, and right there, I'm saying that's good. It's just the camber on this side. So I'm thinking maybe just remove the Heim on one side and adjust it 1/2 turn, or maybe do a full turn. And then this side, I think that's money right there. I think we're happy right there. Yeah, we'll go ahead and tighten down the tow rod jam nuts. But thanks for watching, guys. That's it for this video. That's how to install radius rods and tow rods on the brand new 2022 Pro R. By the way, we're also gonna do a separate video, so subscribe to the channel if you want to see an overview of this machine with all the goodies that it has on it. We're gonna bug Andy for a few more minutes and have him show us what he's done to it, because it's pretty cool so far.